Well, my next guest says President Trump will act to secure our border and will not bow to the radical Dems' inaction and opposition. Joining us tonight, Congressman Matt Gaetz, member of the House Judiciary and Armed Services Committees. Great to see you, Congressman. First of all, the news that the Mexican government, President López Obrador, has ordered 15,000 of his troops to the northern border, the U.S.-Mexico border, to take responsibility in securing that border. I think that is extraordinary achievement.
Well, Mexico knows that the Trump administration means business. And frankly, it's been past time for Mexico to stop acting like a turnstile for the human traffickers rolling out of Central and South America and then up into the United States. What we have learned through this experience is that when the president engages his full deal-making capabilities, we can have the type of transformational change that will ultimately lead to a more secure border.
Yeah, you know, it's his leadership at work here. And it's unprecedented leadership. It's historic leadership. We're talking 2.5 years of his first term in office, and to think of what he's doing. This move with López Obrador, if these two men begin working as partners in their respective national security interests for Mexico and for the United States, this is going to be this is a tectonic achievement that will change Mexico and change the United States.
And Lou, you remember during the campaign when Democrats said, oh, if Donald Trump is elected, we'll never be able to make a deal with Mexico because he said all these things about Mexico. The reality is that Republicans and Democrats have been trying for more than 20 years to get an agreement like this, and it took someone with the skill and deft and I think sensitivity to what's really going on that Donald Trump brought to bear to ultimately get us across the finish line.
You know, the racists, in point of fact, are the radical Dems, who have chosen benign neglect of the responsibilities to help our southern neighbor achieve domination over the drug cartels, to end the cartels' influence along that border, which is costing, just in opiate deaths and doses in this country, the lives of 70,000 Americans a year. Who are these radical Dems? Who is Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer to oppose this president?
Well, and now they're actually joined by those who believe that we should stop interior enforcement of our immigration laws.
Right.
The latest calls from the radical left in Congress would oppose deporting people who were caught, who got due process, who were deemed to have no valid asylum claim, who got a deportation order, and the radical Dems think that they ought to be able to stay in our country forever with no consequence. There's no difference between the policies that they are advocating and having no borders at all. And that's why the work of interior enforcement, getting rid of the 1 million people in this country who have deportation orders, is absolutely essential to preserve the rule of law and to deter illegal border crossings going forward. If people can get an order by a court that they have to be deported and they stay anyway, it makes a joke of our entire immigration system, and it will result in even more people moving from the Northern Triangle into the United States. I mean, you look at the last 5 months alone, 1% of Honduras and 1% of Guatemala have moved into our country just in that short period of time.
And very quickly, Kevin McAleenan, the acting secretary of DHS, accused the Washington Examiner reporting 5 different sources saying that he was the source of the leak. I talked with McAleenan today.
I don't believe it.
He categorically denied that he was the source of those leaks. Your thoughts?
I absolutely believe Acting Secretary McAleenan, he has done a phenomenal job in putting together these deals, not only with Mexico, but deals that we're about to ink with Guatemala and Honduras to stop the flow of this invasion. McAleenan had dinner with me just nights before this reporting from the Washington Examiner, and he was going through the specific strategies that he wanted to use to be effective. There was no person more dedicated to making interior enforcement of our immigration laws successful than Acting Secretary McAleenan. I have total confidence in him, and I just don't believe these anonymous sources, Lou. This town is full of this anonymous source garbage, and frankly, a lot of times it's intended to distract us from the good work that's being done by the Trump administration.
Congressman, appreciate it. Congressman Matt Gaetz.